After scaling the Tour de Endurance mountain 5 months ago, the Marauders, Season 4 champions, we turn to a new page in the Tour de Endurance history books with the 24-25, or the Season 5 Qualifiers. We got 2 of the 4 events here for you today, with the Downhill Drag event 2 and the opening event in Balancing. Hello everybody, I am Angus, of course, your commentator, with your co-commentator for the series, Ramen Powder.
It is so good to be back here in Tour de Endurance for the 24-25 qualifiers, the final season with a host competitor team. The Grayscales are here to bring us the season not long after Season 4. And here in Season 5, we will kick things off with the qualifiers, with Balancing. The stakes have never been higher in Tour de Endurance history. You can see the expanded stadium here, a wonderful show the Grayscales have put on for the rest of the competitors here. But now it's time for the teams to show what they can do here, and we're going to get started with the expedition run, the autumn leans, to show how a balancing run goes here in Tour de Endurance.
It's just like that, of course. It is as far down the beam as you can go. A cumulative score. The first 3 go off very early. You don't want to do that. You want to go as far as the 4th marble does. Getting to the end will net you 130 points. Just get the beam is 120 centimeters long, so getting to the end gives you a 10-point extra from getting to the end of the 120. And we line up the first group, 2 groups of 12 here today. We're back to group qualifying for the first time since Season 2, and only 6 from each group will advance, so the stakes are indeed very high. And here's your run order for Group A. Party Crashers through to Crystal Pistols. It's an even split of A-League and B-League teams per group. Let's see how it goes with the first run of the day, the Party Crashers.
The Party Crashers shuffle their roster from Season 4. Oh, contact out of the gate. 3 of them will go off to the near side early. 1 of them does go off to the far side, fairly down the beam. But disaster for the Party Crashers, coming off a terrible season in the Marble Invite. After shuffling, getting a new captain, and just 193 to start things off. That is first place for now after 1 run, but certainly not going to stay first place by the end of this group.
I won't stay first place for very long at all. Serpent Speed is now in run 2, of course, the record holder in this event, and won the event last season in a dominant state of affairs. Oh, it does not go to plan at all here. It is the complete opposite from Season 4. They all fall off before even 50 or 60 centimeters. So the scores say 42 is the max, and 137 is a atrocious opening score for the Serpent Speeders. Already the 2 top-heavy teams in Group A are struggling, and it leaves some of those lower teams with a big chance to strike early in this group. Jade Jockeys in run 3, 12th in Season 4. They do have 2 come off early. One's going to go pretty far, but just can't get to the end. That will be 120 confirmed. Don't know about the rest, though.
This will easily, no doubt, will take the lead after the first 3 runs here. Jade Jockeys much better than both the Party Crashers and by far the Serpent Speeders. Huge surprises to start off the qualifiers here in this first event, and the Jade Jockeys will take the lead. Neptune Nomads, another team with some changes in the off-season. Oceanus promoted to a main member. We'll see what that works out for them here in this team event. Still figuring things out, I'm sure, in the off-season, but that looked much better than at least the first 2 runs. We'll see what it is compared to the Jade Jockeys. But 2 marbles getting fairly down the beam. One of them, I think, hit that catch base from there, and that will take the lead. 301, they go into first place.
That's good for the Neptune Nomads. The cat that's going to change in reserve, clearly making a difference. And here's another team who's changed their roster. The Cheese Balls have promoted Cheddar to captain, and it's a very, very good exit from the gate. 2 marbles just split each other there toward the end. It was a great start. Look at that formation out of the gate. That's beautiful. But they just drifted a bit too much, and I think the maximum about there was around the 90s for the 2 highest. It's both 95, but 305, another consistent run. It puts the Cheese Balls into provisional first place. 5 runs to go. That's going to leave them in a decent spot to start as Cosmonauts make up the halfway point for this event. No changes here, of course, for roster-wise. This will be the 6th run of the day. It's another great start, but too much contact between the 2. We have our first finisher of the day. Cosmonauts will get the 130, but the others, I think that might be good enough for the lead, though. I don't know how far the rest got down. It might just be enough to get past the Cheese Balls. It'll be close. Yes, it is. 324, and we've had a new leader every time except for the Serpent Speeders. Run's getting better and better here.
Yeah, the run's really stabilizing as we get further and further in this event. The Cheese Balls just barely ahead of the Neptune Nomads, but the Cosmonauts with the first finisher of the day. They lead the way in balancing after getting the win in balancing here in the qualifiers last season as well. Great event for them, but we'll see in the second half of the runs if anyone can challenge that mark set by the Cosmonauts. The Onion Union, a complete swap between captain and reserve for the Onion Union. works out decently for them. I don't know if that will beat the Cosmonauts, but a very consistent effort for the Onion Union. Almost all of them getting to the section with the green blocks, the final third of the course. And the Onion Union second place, that consistency helping them despite the maximum just being 100 for one of their individual marbles. So great for them. And we move on to the Rosemaries, the champions of the B-League last time out. We'll see what they can do here in their second season in Tour de Endurance.
Ooh, it was very good. A consistent run from the final three especially. That was great. One goes off a bit earlier, but these last three just bumping with each other. I think a bit of a push, accidental friendly fire there, getting themselves off the course, but it's good enough for first. All of the others close or past 100. 370 for the Rosemaries, accustoming to life very well in Tour de Endurance as Lagoon Platoon line up next in run 9. That's a very tough run to follow by the Rosemaries. What can they do? It's a great push for the Lagoon Platoon, but they're all drifting off to the side. It's a consistent run with another beautiful formation out of the gate, but I don't think this will quite challenge for the lead.
That was one of the best launches out of the gate I've seen all day from any team. Second place for the Lagoon Platoon. It did come away a bit at the end there. All of them drifting off to the near side, but that start was so good for them, getting them up into second place. Team Mayhem, another team that has shuffled their roster, promoted their reserve. We'll see how that works out for them. Two of them are going to go to the end, and the Team Mayhem, the first team to get 2 finishers in balancing, that should surely take the lead for the team.
With run 10, yes it is, 395, 25 points clear of the Rosemaries, and the team change. Mutiny coming up into the main team, clearly worked out very well, and with just 2 runs to go, Team Mayhem will get a podium, at least in this first event. Quantum Tunnels, of course, the team that has made the most noise, in the fan stands at least, from the B-League expansion. They'll get 3 decently far, 1 almost gets to the end. That'll be a 120 finish for the Quantum Tunnels, or at least one of their marbles. One came off though very early, that is a poor opener, and the other 2 around the mid 80-70 mark. Where will it slot them into with how good some of these runs have been? It's 5th place for the Quantum Tunnels. Not bad for an opening qualifier event for the brand new team.
Very respectable for the Quantum Tunnels, but now to round out Group A, Crystal Pistols, a team that just barely escaped relegation last time out. We'll see what they can do here. Great formation out of the gate. Oh, it comes away from them a bit. 3 of them go off to the far side and 1 to the near side. So while it looked pretty good out of the gate, I must say, it did not go as good as they would have liked, and just 10th place for the Crystal Pistols. Despite that great start, they really fell off before they would have wanted, but it is Team Mayhem easily going to get the win over the Rosemaries and Lagoon Platoon. In fact, the top 2 actually quite ahead of the rest of the field. Party Crashers and Serpent Speeders, bottom 2 in this group after the first event. Big surprises for them, but still 3 events to bring it back. But it's Team Mayhem, Rosemaries, and Lagoon Platoon that lead the way here in Group A.
I can already hear this is it looks a bit back to front, as Ramen said in the early parts of these qualifiers. But of course, congratulations to the first group. They have 1 event down. We move on to Group B now for this event, with every other team that is still yet to make an appearance in these qualifiers. There you see the run order. Honeycombs will go first, down to Navy Seals, who are going last. Looking across this team, there are absolutely, funnily enough, there are 0 roster lineup changes across this entire team. So all the changes that were happening in the off-season were in Group A, and now it's just standard from Season 4. Group B, and the Honeycombs to go first. Oh, the 2 yellow ones go off so early, as does, I believe that was Buzz of the Honeycombs, gets a bit further, but Flutter gets to the end. That recovers the run a little bit, but good grief, that was a really poor run by the Honeycomb members. Former Stinger members rounded up to a 264, but that's not going to hold a podium if the Group A runs start to show up, just like in this group as well.
Very inconsistent for a team that did very solid last season in Season 4. Now, the hosts of Season 4 in second run here, Condiment Kings, much more consistent out of the gate. All of them do fall off to the far side, though. This does not look that much better than the Honeycombs, especially since the Honeycombs did have those 2 former Stinger members get very far. None of the Condiment Kings got far at all, and in fact, that's only at 218, even worse than the Honeycombs. So while the first run was very inconsistent, they did have those 2 great runs. We'll see what the Green Peacocks can do in the third run.
Of course, a former champion, down to relegated 10th in Season 4. The first 2 go off decent. It was a decent launch out of the gate, but they just started drifting to the near side, and they all do come off just around that 80 mark, is as far as they all get, and it does put them up into second place. It's not an early loss for the Green Peacocks, but it's still not a great start for a former champion of such status as we move on to the White Knights. Not great runs so far in this group. This is a big chance for some of these later ones, again, to punish the early mistakes from the big team. The White Knights, again, they'll have 1 go far, but it's not a very consistent effort at all.
Yeah, the White Knights did have one goal for that should be able to put them up at least ahead of two of the teams, and it does. They go into second place, but no real standouts in Group B thus far. This gives a great opportunity for the remaining 8 teams in this group to pounce and get a great run and slot well into first place. Hellcons will see what they can do. Great launch out of the gate, but they all go off to the far side. Despite some teams getting really good and consistent launches out of the gate, it does not go well for them typically. And they all go off to the far side. What will this be? Still, that's good enough for second place. Just a 240 is good enough for second place. The standards set in Group B are not matching what we saw in Group A so far.
Group A had unbelievably high runs in the later part of the thing as well, so especially this might be the chance to bring it back. The Blue Brigade have 2 go off early. That is much more like it from a team with perfect attendance. The Blue Brigade have 2 swerve well off, but look at this beautiful running by the other 2 who just slowly peel towards the sides they were stuck on, and that should put them comfortably into first place. 299 for the Blue Brigade. They go into P1 at the halfway mark with still all the B-League competitors to go, but still no one has hit that 300 hit yet, as we compared to Group A where already 2 teams had hit that mark at the halfway point. So it's still early days for this group, and there could still be some big numbers yet to hit.
We'll see what the money makers can do. Desperately trying to get back in the A-League after misses in the last 2 seasons. Great performance in the B-League. We'll see what they can do here in the qualifiers. One marble will almost get to the end, but that looked like a much better run than a lot of the early runs we saw in this group. So the money makers, this should slot them into first, or if not first, at least second place for a team that's trying to get back in the A-League. And it is good enough for second place. Not quite the mark of the Blue Brigade, but that is still high 200. That should put them in a decent position in this group. Croissant Crew, a team that finished fairly high in the B-League as well last season. We'll see what they can do here. And off they go. Ooh, contact out of the gate, and they get punished for that contact. All of them going off to the far side.
God, that was... Look at them all just drift off together into the background. It was a good launch, but there was just contact as well, despite the good angle. And it's still good enough, despite them all going off relatively early, still good enough for a top half result tentatively. That's sort of unbelievable. Team Sunrise now in run 9. We're at 2/3 of the way through. These final 4 have a big chance to put up a good run and potentially steal the win here. Team Sunrise did have 3 going pretty far, but they have their final 2 not even get up towards 90. It's going to be high in this order, but again, compared to Group A, there's going to be some talk about who was seeded where here, as Group B is looking much weaker in the balancing event, and 285 is good enough for second place for Team Sunrise. It's a good opener for the team desperately wanting to get back after such a good season 2, and now the Popsicle, speaking of a team desperately wanting to be there, it's never to qualify. Will it be the time today? The Popsicles, they have a great start. There's 2 going far. 1 will get to the end, and 1 goes off. I think that's going to be first place for the Popsicles of all teams. Can you believe it?
The Popsicles, could this be the season when they finally make it to the A-League for the first time? 311, the first team in Group B to crack 300 points, and it's the team that has never qualified before. The Popsicles are in a great position to top this group after the first event. The Steel Force will see what they can do in the penultimate run, but the Popsicles have laid down the gauntlet for the rest of these teams. Steel Force have 2 marbles going very far. They will get 1 finisher. Another marble also very far down the green section. This should be high in this group, should be in the top 3 as well, even if it's not better than the Popsicles. But the run's really coming alive now in the later part of this event, and first place for Steel Force, 314. They will take the lead and assert the Popsicles. What can the Navy SEALs do to round out the final run of this group?
It's all come to a head at the end. 2 very close runs at the top of the table. Can Navy SEALs topple them? They 3 go off to the far side. 1 does get to the end. With only 1 going so far, it'll be high up in the order, but I don't think it'll be enough to topple those top 2 runners. We'll have to see. It was a bit more consistent, waiting for the results in the replays. 301. It's good enough for third place. All of the lowest seeded teams in Group B have gotten the first podium of the group. That is just crazy work as the Blue Brigade slid on for 4th. And look at that, Condiment Kings and Green Peacocks, 2 of the highest seeds in this group, are down at the bottom. It's all back to front in both groups so far, but again, it's still early days in these qualifiers. There are still 3 events to go, and there you see Steel Force top of the table with 15 points, and Moneymakers Honeycombs currently at the cutoff. But well done to those top 3, who we look to downhill drag up next.
Yeah, a lot of teams sweating bullets after this first event. Of course, still 3 events to bring it back, but could we see perhaps those changes in the off-season for some of the teams, helping them? For, of course, some of the other teams, like the Party Crashers, hasn't managed to seem to do much here, but the downhill drag is an event that may suit them better, may suit all of these other teams better, so we'll see what they can do here in the second event. Of course, this will be the last event of this video before we take a break before the final 2 events. But there you can see the individual downhill drag, a pure test of speed in Tour de Endurance. Many marbles consistently have done well in this event, and they're going to be sending their best marble, their fastest marble, to represent themselves here.
And here we go with the pre-show. It's dangerous conditions out there today. It is not exactly the smoothest downhill drag track we've ever seen, as Polar Bears, Team Cameo, Ash Riders and Sky Dragons take to it. It's a big gap for the Sky Dragons, who are pulled away from everybody else. Ash Riders will get second place. And as you can see, with the slightly extended length of this track, you are slowed to a crawl by the end if you can't keep your speed up. Team Cameo had even second place there, and there's one of those many bumps on this track that can easily slow you down or even just finish your race. And Team Cameo go from second to fourth, showing the damage that can happen. But Sky Dragons, Hydra, winning the race, and a 5.073 time. That's very quick and should be the time to get definitely in the top half in these groups. But here we see the Group A lineup. Neptune Nomads will lead the first heat, and Party Crashers in final lane of Heat 3. It's just one run each, so you get one chance to put down a good time, and then that is it. Here we go. Neptune Nomads, the Green Platoon, Jade Jockeys, and Quantum Tunnels. One captain and Quanta among them.
And off they go. Lagoon Platoon get the best launch. Can the Quantum Tunnels get around them? They cannot, and the Lagoon Platoon will get the win after a great first event. They're looking very good to qualify here. Some contact there at the end, though. Some perhaps tensions flaring here at the end of the course. We'll have to see. But the Jade Jockeys, got ruined by that bump on the course there. We mentioned it before the event started, but the Jade Jockeys faced the brunt of it here. 6.6 for the Jade Jockeys, reserve member. But the other three, low 5 seconds. That should be a decent time for all three of them. We'll see what the teams in the second heat can do. Remember, in these groups, 3 heats per group, so a lot can change in the later heats.
And it's Havoc up to an early lead for Team Mayhem. Cosmonauts have slowed to a corner out of this race. It's close across the line between Basilisk and Havoc as Cosmonauts crawl to the line at about 8 seconds. It's better than not finishing the race, but that's going to be toward the bottom for sure. Onion Union knocked them to the side, and the race was just over from there. Team Mayhem, Serpent Speeders, it's close toward the finish line. Havoc had the lead, but does not hold on to it. Basilisk gets by right up the line. Is it enough to, what's the time quick enough to take the lead of the event? Cosmonauts there, look at that, just crawling. I respect the effort to get to the line, but it's good enough for second place for Serpent Speeders. Team Mayhem will get third as well, and Odyssey, unsurprisingly, at the bottom for now, but still one heat to go in this group. Quartz, Sage, Ricotta, and Intruder among them.
And off they go. Great start by Crystal Pistols. Rosemary's also on the right, are gonna get second place. Crystal Pistols, though, unchallenged up front, and the Cheese Balls will come in last. Party Crashers in third. Serpent Speeders in the previous heat. Great bounce back for them after their goose egg and balancing. Party Crashers didn't quite have that good bounce back here, but better than the Cheese Balls here. We'll see how these times compare to the previous ones. And the top 3 go 1, 2, 3 between the Crystal Pistols, Rosemary's, and the Party Crashers. I did not see that coming. Those 3 going 1, 2, 3. And the Party Crashers do eclipse the Lagoon Platoon and the Serpent Speeders for third place, but the Crystal Pistols in the final run of the day, in the final run of the group, will get 15 points here. Great news for them to qualify. Rosemary's will top the table, though, with 2 12s, and they have 24 to start after the first video. Team Mayhem dropped to second as Lagoon Platoon, but that final heat, all going so fast, except for, of course, the Cheese Balls. But we'll see what the teams in Group B can do to follow up with that.
So we saw a high 4 second from the leading Crystal Pistols. I can't believe the reserve pulling that off to get them up into the top 6 provisionally as we look to Group B. Popsicles to start, Honeycombs to finish in Heat 1 and Heat 3. Icy, Mayo, Pastry, and Pennywise. Of course, Pennywise, Mayo, and Icy are all very good at this event. What can Pastry do in comparison with them? Oh, Icy's come to a stop. They've pretty much stalled completely. And Costa Rica Sun Crew beat, I think they just got ahead of 3 kings of this event. Was it enough? It's going to be very close. But what happened to the Popsicles? Oh dear, they just tripped on themselves there. That is not what they needed after such a good opening event. But look at that across the line. And the Croissant Crew do get there and beat out these top downhill drag runners.
The Croissant Crew, I don't know if anyone had that coming up. They would take the lead here after the first heat. But they, with a sub 5 second run as well, that could be a great mark that these teams are going to struggle to meet. Sub 5 seconds is a very tough mark to beat here. And we'll see what these teams in the second heat can do. Team Sunrise goes here. Green Peacocks have been ruined by a bump. Team Sunrise get ruined by a bump. And Navy Seals will get the win here. But the Green Peacocks, that will be another marble that gets their win completely ruined by one of those bumps there. We mentioned it earlier, and especially for Group B, it's really made these teams struggle. But Navy Seals across the line, it was very close between those 3 teams. Navy Seals, well, this will be 4th place for them, ahead of the White Knights and Team Sunrise.
And that's 2 DNFs already in these first 2 rounds. It's much more dangerous for these Group B competitors. Blue Corn, Notes, Brass, and Beeswax in the final heat of this group and the final race of the day. Steel Force already slowed down, and Moneymakers slow down too. It's carnage for Group B as Honeycombs come across to win the race, and Moneymakers can't get to the line. That's a confirmed 9th place. 4 marbles couldn't get to the end of this track. It hasn't changed. That's really struggling. They're cracking under the pressure out there at event 2. But how quick was it for the Honeycombs and the Blue Brigade? They get up there in a relatively quick time, I imagine. We'll see what it is. It's good enough for 2nd place for the Honeycombs, 5th for the Blue Brigade, and Steel Force, after winning the first event, will get a goose egg here, and it's already chaotic for them. And there you see the final order. Another 2 reserve members. Group A was Quartz, and Group B, it is Pastry. Well done to them. And Beeswax and Mayo rounding out this podium. A big bounce back for the Condiment Kings there, especially. They needed that, but it's only put them in 9th for now. We'll see what happens in the other 2 events coming on later.
It is chaos and it is controversy in Group B in the qualifiers, but amidst all of it, it's the Croissant crew that emerge victorious in the 2nd event in Group B in the qualifiers. That'll be it for this video before we take a break before the final 2 events of the qualifiers for Tour de Endurance in 24-25. We'll kick things off next time with the Hubelino Pursuit and end it off with the Funnel Classic.